This little Game Boy Advance is well past the sell-by date. It does work, but you should be that colour. It's actually that colour. So what we're going to do today, we're going to give them a new lease of life with what's in this box. I bought this from Retrosix. It's not sponsored. We're just going to see if we can give this little fella a bit of a makeover and have him looking better than new. So stay tuned. So if you like the makeover on this one, watch till the end of the video, because we've got some new things coming too. So this is it. A rather tired Game Boy Advance. Scratches on the screen. It's had plenty of use, and it should be this colour, when in fact it's a rather, it looks like a nicotine yellow, but it must be from sun damage. So let's go and crack this open with a tri-wing screwdriver. Don't forget to remove the cartridge, the battery cover and the batteries first. Schoolboy error. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tri-wings, but there's also a small Phillips head just at the bottom there, so we'll have to take that one out too. And with that, the back lifts off. There are springs on the trigger switches. We've got new trigger switches, so we won't be using these ones. I have never replaced a shell on a Game Boy Advance, so this is a new one to me. We'll get this open, dismantled, and then we'll see what instructions come with the new shell and the new screen. There is a screw here, there's a couple over here. If my eyes are right, these are Phillips, and that's the motherboard. Despite the condition of the outside case, the inside of the motherboard does look nice and clean. I remember when I first bought this one and tested it, I noticed the rubber pad was damaged. But we're not actually going to use any of these parts. The screen still works, but we'll have a new IPS screen to fit. Alright, so now we've got our working motherboard. So let's have a look in the box. I have a glass lens with a nice gold Game Boy logo. I have an IPS screen. I have some white buttons and some new pads. That's a bracket for lining up the screen, a dust filter, and the last piece is a green. The last piece is a white. A new white case. Screws. It's nice to have a new set of screws too. I'm not sure what that's for. There's a little plastic thing in there, I don't know what that's for. I think it's for a lens for this LED perhaps. So that's what we need to fix. So there's the old one. And this is the new one I'm putting on. I'm hoping they've included some instructions with this, because I've never done it before. I have no idea, so I'm going in blind, as they say. It looks like we're going to have to do a bit of soldering. Attach this insulating film to the metal surface on the back of the screen. Oh dear, there was no instructions. So here's the screen, and there's a small connector just at the bottom there. Which presumably attaches to this board. Just here. So I'm going to have to pause the video and go and have a look and see how this fits together. I've had a look on the website and there doesn't seem to be much instructions other than place the LCD into position. Optionally, solder brightness control wire. So that must be the brightness control wire. It doesn't tell you where to solder it to. So testing it outside of the board, I don't know if the screen goes in that way or that way. So I just need to figure that out. I've got a 50-50 chance of getting it right. So if that goes in the screen that way, that must bend down. Oh, hold on a minute. I've got a connector there, but I've also got a connector here. So why do I have two connectors on this board? What's that bottom one for then? Yeah, I've got two. Got one there, and I've got one on that side also. So if that one goes in there, and that bends over there, and then the screen goes in there. Not quite sure what this connector is for at the moment. Can I fit a couple of batteries in there? Like that. And see if that screen works. So we'll do that. We'll put some batteries in there. Let's switch on and see if this comes on. Now it's on. I think that's just, yeah. There's a couple of lines on the screen there that you can see. They're the cellophane on top. So that's the screen on there, so it is working. Shall I put a game in? Right, let's try again with the game. Typical, it's not reading the game. Second try. There we go. So if you're fitting a IPS screen from Retrosix, that's how you need to test it. The wide, I still don't know what this is for. The wider ribbon cable goes in the console and the screen fits that way. So when you put it in the case, it just scissors down like that. Right, so let's put this back together. I've got a couple of things I'm not quite sure about. Right, so I have been looking on YouTube, and there's a YouTube channel called Handheld Legend, and he's explaining some boards must have a 40 pin connector like this, and some boards must have a 32, I think he said, pin connector for the other side. So whichever board you have to orientate this differently. But he has explained that the brightness control goes from test point 2, which is down here, and the connectors on the button switches for left and right. So I'm going to solder them up like he has done, and they go to these little pads here. Now I can't see that. Come on, there you go, left and right and select, I believe. So I'm going to solder them up. So your test points for the ribbon cables are test point 2. It's the top left pin on each shoulder button. Just there. And they come down and join onto these pads here, which I'll solder on using a microscope. Okay, so that should be that. Make sure you orientate the console so you've got your left and the right the correct way around. So now we'll move on to, so I'm assuming that this is the dust guard which fits in there. These must be to help you align the screen, which I don't think I need anymore because I've got the optional screen bracket. I'm not sure what this piece is for. This is to go the dust guard seems to overlap the front. I think when I attach the screen we'll not see this. I'm hoping that'll disappear. And I'm going to attach this. So the screen goes into the top right hand corner and the bracket keeps it in place. I think it's probably a good idea to put these buttons in. A link in the kit to some instructions wouldn't have gone amiss. So that goes there. Have I put the screen in upside down? This is what happens when you don't do your homework. That's right. So don't do what I did. The screen connector has to be in the bottom right hand corner. Pop these buttons in. What I should have done, I should have put a protector back on there. This one, oh look, this one's got an extra lug on for whatever reason. So the extra lug goes on the right hand side. That's where I was going wrong. But I'll use the original motherboard screws. Those motherboard screws seem quite tight. A Phillips 2.5 for those motherboard screws. We'll put a couple of screws in. What are they? Are they Phillips? Let's see, are we going to get power? Yes, we do. A bit concerned about that showing there. If that shows on the, after we've fitted this top screen, we'll have to take it apart again and trim it. How am I supposed to get that off? I don't want to use a pokey tool and risk damaging it. There it is. And that slots in there. Nice. Let's do a quick test. The black that I can see is not the dust thing. I'm not sure how you change the brightness of the screen. The last piece. So that is the Retrosix IPS screen mod in a white shell with all white buttons. I hope you enjoyed it. The only downside is I've got these parts. It could have came with some instructions, some better instructions, or some links to some instructions, but we got there in the end. I do have some Gameboy Advance SPs, which are a bit battered and broken. They could do with some TLC. So if this is successful, I'll do some SPs too. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. I've just realised if you want to change the brightness, you hold select and use the trigger buttons to lower the brightness and increase the brightness. So that's working too. Just thought I'd better add that onto the end of the video, otherwise you'll be thinking I forgot about it, which I had done. See you in the next one.